This patent changed everything about how we communicate. But the man who created it died penniless and forgotten. I always thought Marconi invented the radio. Turns out, I was completely wrong. What I'm about to show you is of the biggest injustices in scientific history. A story of genius, betrayal, and corruption that changed the world. I'm going to show you the original patents. The moment Tesla demonstrated wireless transmission. The scandal that shocked America. The confession nobody talks about, and why this matters right now. Scientists are calling it unprecedented. The patent office reversal was unlike anything in American history. The Supreme Court had to step in decades later. They found he was using 17 of Tesla's patents. 17. This was the biggest theft in scientific history. This was about power, money, and who controls history itself. To understand how this happened, we need to go back to 1993, Chicago, Illinois, the world's Columbian Exposition. This is where it all started. A Serbian immigrant about to demonstrate something impossible. But what Tesla didn't know was that someone was watching. Someone who would steal everything. 1893, the world ran on wires. Telegraph cables crossed oceans. Copper lines connected cities. Every message needed a physical connection. If you wanted to talk to someone far away, you needed a wire between you. Until this day. The world's Columbian Exposition in Chicago. Tesla stood in front of an audience with equipment nobody had ever seen. Massive coils, enormous antennas, crackling electricity arcing between towers. The air smelled like ozone. You could feel the static on your skin. And then it worked. A signal traveled through thin air. No wires, no cables, just invisible waves carrying information through empty space. The crowd gasped. Scientists in the audience couldn't believe it. This was revolutionary. This was impossible made real. But how did he do it? Tesla's secret was 4 tuned circuits. Think of it like this. Imagine you're in a crowded room where everyone's shouting, you can't hear anything clearly. But if everyone speaks on a different frequency, suddenly you can tune in to just unconversation. That's what Tesla figured out. How to send signals on specific frequencies so they wouldn't interfere with each other. Nobody else had figured this out yet. This was the foundation of ALL wireless communication. But this wasn't just about sending messages. This was about freeing humanity from wires. This was about power. And Tesla was just getting started. 5 years later, he would demonstrate something even more incredible, something so advanced that people would think it was magic. But while Tesla was dreaming of the future, a businessman was making plans. Meet Guglielmo Marconi, young Italian from a wealthy family, connected to European aristocracy, ambitious beyond measure. Here's the thing about Marconi. He wasn't an inventor. He was a businessman. Look at these photos. There he is with the King of Italy, with British politicians, with American industrialists. And he was very, very good at one thing: take credit. While Tesla was publishing his work openly in scientific journals, believing in sharing knowledge with the world, making breakthrough after breakthrough in wireless transmission, Marconi was watching, taking notes, building connections with Thomas Edison, with J.P. Morgan, with every powerful man who could help him. And he was studying Tesla's patents. All of them. Marconi's approach was simpler than Tesla's. Tesla used 4 tuned circuits, complex and powerful. Marconi used just 2. Easier to understand, easier to mass produce, easier to sell. It wasn't as good, but it was good enough. And he had something Tesla didn't have: business sense and powerful friends. December 12th, 1900, Marconi made his move. He claimed to send a signal across the Atlantic Ocean, from Polhu in Cornwall, England, to Signal Hill in Newfoundland, Canada, 2,000 miles across the ocean. 3 clicks in Morse code, the letter S. And whether it actually worked or not, the world went crazy. Look at these newspaper headlines. Wireless spans the ocean. Marconi's miracle. The wizard of wireless. Suddenly, Marconi was a hero, the man who conquered distance itself. But here's what they didn't tell you. Marconi's invention used Tesla's patents. In fact, the US Patent Office had already rejected Marconi's patent application. This is documented. The reason, and I quote, "Tesla's prior patents already cover this technology." That was 1900. just 1 year before his famous Atlantic transmission. Marconi was told no. His application was denied because Tesla got there first. So how did Marconi get a patent anyway? This is where it gets dark. Look at this, 1900. Patent office to Marconi, no. Your invention is not original, rejected. 1904, patent office to Marconi, yes. Patent granted, same invention, same prior art. 4 years later, what changed? No explanation, no justification, no acknowledgement that they'd rejected the same exact patent 4 years earlier, just reversed. Historians call this unprecedented in patent office history, and the timing is very suspicious. Follow the money, 1904, the same year as the patent reversal. Marconi's company in America, American Marconi, gets a major investor. Guess who? Thomas Edison. Yes, that Edison, the same Edison who lost the AC versus DC current war to Tesla and Westinghouse decades before. The same Edison who was famous for crushing competitors. The same Edison who had connections throughout the US government and Congress in federal agencies. He picks up the phone, favors get called in, and suddenly, Marconi has an American patent. Look at this connection web. Edison finances Marconi. Edison's business partner sits on the patent review board. Marconi's company hires Edison's former employees. It's all connected. Coincidence? Historians don't think so. This was corruption at the highest level. And it worked perfectly. With that patent, Marconi built an empire. Look at this, ships with Marconi wireless equipment, the Titanic, the Lusitania, buildings with Marconi signs, telegraph stations across the world, money pouring in. Marconi became one of the richest men in Europe. While Tesla, look at this photo, a modest laboratory, equipment he built himself, begging investors for funding, and they all said the same thing. But Marconi already invented radio. Why would we fund you? The stolen patent became proof that Tesla was the copycat. History was being rewritten in real time. But here's the thing, years before Marconi's Atlantic transmission, years before the patent corruption, Tesla had already demonstrated something that should have ended all doubt. Something so advanced that people literally thought it was impossible. Madison Square Garden, 1898. 3 years before Marconi's Atlantic transmission. Thousands of people packed the arena. New York's elite, scientists, journalists, families. They came to see the electrical wizard, the man who lit up the World's Fair. What was he going to show them? Tesla walked out onto the stage. The crowd fell silent. In front of him, a large pool of water. In the pool, a small boat, 4 feet long, a miniature ship with a tiny mast and lights on its deck. And Tesla held a small wooden box with buttons and switches. He looked at the crowd, smiled, and pressed a button. The boat moved forward. The crowd murmured. He pressed another button. The boat turned left, then right, then backward. The lights on the boat turned on, then off, then on again in sequence. The boats zigzagged through the water, responding to every command, all with no wires. Nothing connecting the box to the boat. Nothing visible at all. The crowd lost their minds. People jumped to their feet. Some were screaming. Look at these newspaper accounts from the next day. People shouted, "Witchcraft!" Some claimed there was a tiny monkey trained to control the boat hidden inside the hull. Others insisted it was a trained midget. They literally couldn't comprehend wireless control. It was like showing an iPhone to someone from the Middle Ages. Their brains couldn't process what they were seeing. But this wasn't magic. This was the first remote control in human history. The first radio-controlled any. Tesla had figured out how to send not just simple signals, but complex commands wirelessly. Look at the patent diagram. Multiple frequencies working simultaneously. Coded signals to control different functions. Precise control at a distance. This was 1898. The Wright brothers hadn't even flown yet. Cars were barely a thing, and Tesla had wireless remote control. Think about this. Every drone you've ever flown, every RC car, every garage door opener, every television remote, every wireless keyboard, every wireless device you own traces back to this moment, to this 4-foot boat in a pool in Madison Square Garden. This was the birth of wireless control. And the world's response? Look at this newspaper review, an interesting novelty. That's it. They didn't get it. They thought it was a party trick, a magician's illusion, entertainment. They had no idea they were watching the future. But someone did get it. Someone understood exactly what this meant, and he wanted to destroy Tesla's dream completely. Tesla had a dream bigger than radio, bigger than remote control. He wanted to transmit power wirelessly, not just information, actual electricity. Imagine it, free electricity for everyone everywhere on Earth. No power lines cutting through forests, no electric bills, no power companies, just free energy pulled from the air itself, anywhere you stood on the planet. This wasn't science fiction, he was building it. The Wardenclyffe Tower, Long Island, New York. Look at these construction photos. A tower 186 feet tall, topped with a massive copper dome. Underground, a shaft going down 120 feet into the earth. The plan was to use the earth itself as a conductor, pump electricity into the ground, and anyone anywhere could pull it out. Wireless power for all of humanity. It was going to change everything. But building something this ambitious required money. Massive money. More than Tesla had, more than any normal investor would risk. So he went to the most powerful man in America, the man who controlled more wealth than some countries. J.P. Morgan, banking titan, financier of railroads, of steel companies, of entire industries. The man who literally bailed out the US government during financial crises. If anyone could fund the dream, it was Morgan. And at first, Morgan said yes. He gave Tesla $150,000. That's about $4.5 million in today's money. Tesla was ecstatic. He started building. The tower rose into the sky. Equipment was installed. Tests began. Everything was working. Everything was possible. The dream was becoming real. And then, Morgan understood something. If Tesla succeeds, if power is FRE and wireless, how do you meter it? How do you charge for it? How do you control it? If anyone can just pull electricity out of the air, where do we put the meter? And Morgan had invested millions, not in Tesla, in copper mines, in power companies, in the infrastructure of wired electricity. He owned pieces of electrical utilities across America. He had financial interests in keeping electricity expensive and controlled. Tesla's dream was Morgan's nightmare. Free power meant no power bills. No power bills meant no power companies. No power companies meant Morgan's investments were worthless. Morgan pulled Dow funding. Completely. Abruptly. No warning. His reason? And this is a direct quote from Morgan. If anyone can draw on the power, where do we put the meter? That's it. That's the reason. We can't charge people, so why build it? Letter after letter. Morgan ignored all of them. His secretary sent form replies. The tower stopped. Construction crews went home. Equipment rusted, and Tesla, with no money and massive debts, had to sell the property for scrap to pay his bills. Want to know the worst part? The cruelest irony of this entire story? Tesla had already given away his fortune. Remember AC electricity? Alternating current that powers the world? Tesla's invention. He had a royalty deal with Westinghouse. $2.50 per horsepower of AC electricity generated and sold. By 1900, this would have made him $10 million. That's equivalent to over $400 million today. Tesla was on track to become one of the richest men in the world. But Westinghouse was going bankrupt paying the royalties. The company couldn't handle it. So Westinghouse came to Tesla and said, "I can't pay you anymore, the company will collapse." And Tesla tore up the contract right there, voluntarily. He gave it all away, hundreds of millions of dollars, to save Westinghouse's company, to make sure AC electricity reached the world. Tesla chose humanity over wealth, and it destroyed him. He had no fortune, no savings, no backup. When Morgan pulled funding, Tesla had nothing. Tesla's generosity became his doom. But decades later, the truth would finally come out. Too late for Tesla to see it. January 7th, 1943. Room 3327, New Yorker Hotel. Nikola Tesla died alone, penniless. The man who lit up the world died in the dark. He was 86 years old. Newspapers barely mentioned it, but 6 months later, something happened. The Marconi wireless company sued the US government. They wanted money for all the radio equipment used in World War I, millions of dollars. The government's defense? Marconi didn't invent radio, so we don't owe him anything. This went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the government brought out Tesla's patents, all of them. They brought out Oliver Lodge's work, John Stone's work. They showed everything. 1930, the Supreme Court ruled. Look at this document. Quote, Marconi's reputation as the man who first achieved successful radio transmission rests on his original patent, and then this. The patent is invalid. They listed Tesla's patents as the foundation of radio. They recognized his priority. They called him the inventor, 60 years after his first demonstration, 6 months after his death. Tesla never knew. He died thinking history forgot him. He died thinking Marconi won. This is one of the most tragic stories in scientific history. The truth came out. Justice was served. But the only person who deserved to hear it was already gone. And here's the thing. Most people still don't know. Ask anyone on the street who invented radio, they'll say Marconi. Textbooks still say Marconi. Museums still say Marconi. The Supreme Court ruling changed the law, but it didn't change the story. Why? Because Marconi had one more trick. Let's go back to that tower for a minute, because I need you to understand what we actually lost. Wardenclyffe wasn't just Tesla's dream. It was possibly humanity's dream. Look at these detailed plans. This wasn't a radio tower. It was a power tower. Tesla calculated he could transmit electricity through the Earth itself. The planet would become a conductor. He'd pump energy into the ground at Wardenclyffe, and you could extract it anywhere. In New York, in California, in Japan, in Africa, anywhere on Earth. A pocket-sized receiver would pull electricity from the ground beneath your feet. No wires, no infrastructure, no power companies. Now, experts debate if this would have actually worked. The physics is complicated. Some calculations Tesla made were off. He overestimated certain efficiencies. But here's what we know works. Look at this. Wireless charging. Your phone, your electric toothbrush. We can do it short distance. Tesla wanted to do it global distance. Was he crazy or just too early? After Tesla sold the property, the tower stood empty, a monument to a dream that died. Then, World War I. The US government was paranoid about spies using it, so they demolished it, dynamited it, sold it for scrap metal. 186 feet of vision turned into scrap, worth $1,750. Think about what the world would look like if Morgan had said yes. If that tower had been completed. Either it works and we have free wireless power, or it doesn't, but we learn something that leads to something else. Either way, Tesla keeps working, keeps inventing. Instead, he spent his last decades in poverty, living in hotels, moving when he couldn't pay rent, walking to Central Park every day to feed pigeon. He loved pigeon, said they were his only friends, one of the greatest minds in history feeding birds. But even Marconi couldn't avoid the truth forever. While Tesla fed pigeon, Marconi was everywhere. Look at this. Ships with his equipment, buildings with his name, ceremonies where kings and presidents shook his hand. His company, Marconi Wireless, was massive. Every ship had Marconi equipment, including the Titanic. When the Titanic sank, Marconi Radio saved 700 lives. This made Marconi a hero all over again. The 1909 Nobel Prize in Physics, wealth, fame, everything. And then, in a private moment, Marconi said something to a colleague, quietly, not publicly. Quote, "I don't fully understand the principles of my own invention." Let that sink in. The man who won the Nobel Prize for inventing radio admitted he didn't understand how radio worked. But there's more. His engineers admitted, on record, that they used 17 of Tesla's patents. 17. Not borrowed, not built upon, used. So why don't textbooks teach this? Why does everyone still think Marconi invented radio? 3 reasons. 1, Marconi died in 1937 before the Supreme Court ruling. He got to be the inventor his whole life. 2, the Supreme Court case was about money, not credit. Barely made the news during World War II. 3, Marconi was a master of public relations. Look at this newspaper archive. He shaped his own story. Press conferences, demonstrations, photos with celebrities. Tesla gave interviews about pigeons and death rays. This is a pattern throughout history. The inventor versus the promoter. The genius versus the businessman. Edison took credit from his team. Jobs took credit from Wozniak. The person who sells the story often beats the person who creates the thing. This is why we need to be careful about scientific history, and why this story matters right now. Right now, this is happening again. How many inventors do you know by name? The people in the labs, writing the code, making the breakthroughs. Can you name them? But you know Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, all brilliant businessmen. But inventors? This is Tesla's story repeating. Because when we give credit to the wrong people, we teach the wrong lesson. We tell kids, don't invent, market. Don't create, promote. Don't be Tesla, be Marconi. And that's how we lose the next Tesla, the next person who could change the world. They look at history and think, why bother? I started this video thinking I knew who invented radio. But the more I learned, the more I realized. History isn't written by inventors. It's written by the people with money and power. And if we don't actively correct that, if we don't tell these stories, the truth just disappears. Tesla died thinking he failed. But every time you use Wi-Fi, that's Tesla. Every time your remote control works, that's Tesla. Every time electricity flows into your home, that's Tesla. He didn't fail. We failed him. We failed to recognize genius, that it mattered. We failed to credit the creator over the marketer. We're still failing. So yeah, Marconi became famous. But Tesla changed the world. And now you know the difference. Next time someone says Marconi invented radio, you can tell them the truth, not to be pedantic, but because credit matters. Because inventors deserve to know their work will be recognized. Because the next Tesla needs to know it's worth it. The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine. He was right. The future is his. We just need to remember it.